Hi, I'm Isabel Lagana. I'm the writer of Eloise and I play Kate.
Hi, I'm Acadia Barrengos and I'm the director of Eloise.
Hi, I'm Joshua Keene and I'm the producer and the choreographer of Eloise.
Okay. So what you were saying about like the camera being our narrator and following whether it's like an extra in the scene or something, I remember in choreography rehearsals being like, how do you make this without really knowing what you're leaving in the last moment and like what you're guiding us into? How did you feel?
You mean like
those transitions
from the story, like the scene into the song kind of thing? Yeah.
Without knowing where you leave off visually, like.
I think you both did a really good job setting me up with like what are we trying to accomplish in each dance moment? You know, like that was like the original thing. Like what is the change that happens because of this song or because of this dance, sequence. And I think you two did a really good job helping me set up for that. So I don't know, I don't think I really had to think about that as much because all the prep work was there that you guys did.
I feel like your brain also works in transitions. Like you had ideas about what those images were before you had even choreographed the dance. Like while we were in those conversations, you were like, oh, and so because that's before we can layer it this way, and then it's like, wow, like all these.
And I think what's easier in that department is that you can get away with more when it's like a magical dance sequence. It's less in a way, it's less like logistical than like you were talking about the eye thing and the cutting and like the technical aspects of film. You can get away with a little more when it's like we're going to a dream sequence.
It's so funny because I thought the opposite. Like as we were making that was like the thing that I was thinking. This could end up looking really cheesy, or like we could lose our audience if this doesn't read well. So I always feel like when I have something magical, I'm like, you have to be very careful about setting up the rules of the world so people know how to watch it. And I feel like I put this like really challenge. I'm like, and then they're in a dream, and I put this like challenging thing that's like, and then they're in a dream, and I kind of just like left it to you to like figure out how to make that read well. But like the moment, like the your escape moment, watching that scene in the bedroom and then like teeter back and forth before being into that sequence, I was like, this is so, it was one of my favorite parts to watch in shooting because I was like, it's successful. Like I can already see from the monitor that it's going to be so successful.
Yeah.
And I think part of that is Sophia is so good at what she does. That like when you build or you put together a team of creatives that you trust, like being able to release that expectation, or like you said, like this isn't my job. Like letting that you have that responsibility, and like that is, I think, just like setting yourself up in the beginning, then you just can trust. So I think that was the best part about it, was I never had a fear that it was going to look cheesy because of how good the work she makes. So like that was another part of it too. I also think I was thinking about what you were talking of your escape specifically is like I knew it recently in the last like 2 years. I feel like before creatively, especially when it comes to choreography or with film, dance on film, I used to be so like particular about the prep work and specificity of the shots and this. And slowly over the course of like editing dance videos or films or whatever, I realized that sometimes the things that happen in the moment or that like the problems make an even better solution. Like that was a whole sequence that we had to change. We had to figure out how,
No, we have to talk about this.
And so that whole beginning of the sequence was choreographed more to a T. You know what I mean? Yes. Right. But I like way better where it ended up.
What we ended up with.
So like that kind of like not being disappointed, like having like trust that plan B or plan C or plan D actually is plan A. You know what I mean? That like
It is, and that's such a great lesson because I feel like that happened multiple times.
And in different scenes, different locations.
And because we just couldn't figure out how to get Monica there. And so it was like, okay, we have to use this limitation to our advantage, and then made it a solo, and then and then it was like
But it's kind of more
gorgeous,
powerful
and
that
we
way,
shot
too,
it.
yeah.
So just like when Katrina and G, or like young Kate and Eloise, they meet together in this dream space, like the assumption in the script is like that they always get to meet together
Right.
in this space, and Monica plays the college-aged Kate, and so at that point, it's supposed to be, in my mind, it was always the same thing, right? Like, it's now that instead of just being alone and being in like this imagination space, that's harder to access at this age, and so in college, she picks, like, she's drinking now, and that's the way that she like propels
That's the
herself to
turn of
imagination
events.
space.
Yeah.
But I never thought that it was gonna be any different. I just thought, oh, and
The two
now
of
we
them
get
meet,
there.
the two of them meet, the two
So,
of them meet.
yeah, the way of doing that is just like by
Repetition.
drinking now.
Yeah.
And literally what happened was Monica was at had a school schedule, and when we were developing the calendar, she just wasn't going to be able to make it to the day where we had the one day that we had this space to do these dances.
Yeah.
At the point then we were all in the room, and we just had to decide, like, how do we tell the same story that Kate is still like going to this imagination space without her physically being there? Like, what does that conversation look like?
Yeah.
And then I think what came of it was she's trying to get there.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a step on the journey that I didn't discover in the writing process, but that happened because we bumped into a roadblock.
Totally. And then it felt like it offered something else to the story too, which is then by the time you are able to go back with or with Eloise into that space, it's kind of like the most amazing thing, even though the reason she's arrived there is from this destructive habit. But it's like, oh wow, no, she still has access to
Yes.
this. Yeah.
Which is my favorite part of the movie.
Is your dance move.
Yeah.
That's my favorite part too.
Really?
It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
It was like, watching it, I was like, oh, this is the reason that I wrote the movie. Because like my experience with like drinking was my thing, and people have others, but like my experience was I used this thing to like self-medicate because I have these small touchstone experiences where it worked, where like on occasion, like maybe 1 out of every 10 times that I drank, like I had the experience where like my shoulders dropped and I felt relaxed and I felt comfortable in my own skin, and that was so rare. And seeing it in the film, this like sort of math of when I was a kid, I used to go to this dream space with my imaginary friend and dance, and then have the exact same beautiful, sweet choreography in that same imagination space. Like as an adult, like it literally gets me like every time when I watch it. So it's my favorite part. And it made, to me, I was like, if nothing else works about the film, and luckily it does, I think it really does work, but like seeing that moment land, I was like, this was the whole intention of making it, and like it really reads.
And your performance in it is like perfect.
I look so happy. Like when we like spin around, and that's such a credit, because that's not, I didn't see choreography when I was writing it, but like I think I definitely thought, because it's what I would imagine, like I definitely wanted it to be, I wanted myself to be more capable of something like technically impressive.
Sure.
But the joy of it being this almost like ring around the rosy version was so perfect, because I'm truly so happy in it, and it was also my favorite part in shooting too. It was like that.
And you two have such good chemistry too. So like the forces together.
And
so
what was
it's like,
so, again, a logistical thing that then kind of made that moment, I feel like part of what it was that you built all of the choreography on Juliana and Isabel.
Yes.
Like, so there was this muscle memory,
Yeah.
even from the younger stuff of like, I've been doing this with you from the beginning, which was.
I never thought about it like that, but that definitely added to it.
Yeah.
That
Right.
you were there building it for all the dance sequences.
Yeah. And again, like just a happy accident.
Yeah.
Because that wasn't the plan.
Right?
That's your favorite moment.
My favorite
too.
part. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Colors,
Yeah, there's such breadth.
the
in
outfits,
everything
the
that happens. I'm
lighting, like
oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And it's a little sad, like,
Yeah.
because you see it, right, you're like, oh, it's so beautiful that she's doing this thing, but it's almost like she's wearing like clothes that are too youthful. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, oh, she's stuck in the past, and that's always like a hard in anything that I watch where I'm like, oh, I get it. Like, I get the feeling of comfort, but I also am worried for you, like in your maturity, that you're holding on to this thing that doesn't quite fit anymore. But I get it.
Yeah.
And I think the blue, like it just really
the color story throughout those 3. I think we really worked that well.
Yeah, and that space, like to have something that kind of feels like a spooky dance studio, like the mirrors, like the whole. That was, I think, the best find location-wise, like you said, like because that could go south so easily. So that was like once we got into that space and we like looked at it on the monitor for the first time, it was like, another one of those like,
Yeah. And so just to follow up on the your escape moment too, just that through line, but I'm really glad we did that. Right, just like when, as the process continued, then getting into editing with that logistical kerfuffle, and then we had the solo, and then I feel like the way it showed up in the movie, that sequence feels like the furthest from the script. It was actually of the moments that we have, like it is the most departure from the original screenplay, in that like it's now one person and it's in and out, and the splicing of that and the splicing of how then it changed the kind of first couple of bars of choreography too. But I feel like what we ended up with is so unique to the story.
Totally, and I think finding that flashes into that like obstacle, that new obstacle that wasn't there before, of trying to get there. That
really leads to it, because then you have that back to back with the spliced puking. There's like a mirroring of like trying to get there, and the wooziness of losing oneself. It feels really.
When you were writing this, like you just said, dreaming about the dance stuff, you weren't thinking about the choreography. Where did the idea to include the dance in this come from? Like, was that something when the first time you were sit down to write it, that was always there, or did that come later?
It's so, when I try to think about what, like, the ideas were when I was first making it, it's, like, so hard to access them because I just didn't write anything down. It was like literally daydreaming until we had, like, a week before this draft was due, and then I was like, okay, whatever of that daydreaming comes out will come out. But I actually think I always assumed there would be dance. And I think that because in my emotional experience, like before I even started drinking, the thing that I would do when I was feeling too big was like imagine that I was dancing, because I had quit. I had quit when I was injured. Like that part is part of my own story. And there would be times where I just feel so angry or so sad, and I just didn't know what to do with it. And so I'd like listen to music where I saw the movements I was feeling. And so that was such a big part of my being a kid that I think I always knew there was going to be dance in it. Like that sort of, the loss of that identity in reality was a big part of my story of not living in reality. And so I think, but I don't know if and I think I wanted the experience of dancing. I think I wanted to dance on film a little bit, and then the closer we got to the reality of that, the more I was like, I don't know how to dance. It really did like mirror my own like life and thought process in that way. But I think I didn't trust myself to write without having a sense of rhythm where I got to incorporate dance, if that makes sense. Like when I was listening, like the first thing, I don't know if you remember, but the first thing after we had like our creative consultation, the very first like scheduled event on the calendar was ask Allie if we can use her music. And so once I did that, then I was able to write, because I can see the film medium like the thing that keeps it tethered, or the thing that keeps that language like sort of on track for me was easier when I had music to write to.
Yeah. Which really did create a rhythmic foundation for the whole film that I think we tried to follow even like throughout all of our work with Declan. You were like, this, like there is a rhythm and there is a metronome to be followed.
Yeah. And it's another, like, I feel like I used the word before, but like developing credibility as an actor, one thing in like knowing your character, but like as a writer, right, like dealing with a medium I never worked in before, I was like, what is the thing that I can stay tethered to really having a credibility in this medium? Like, and for me, I was like, I know how to hold to a song, like whether it's when I'm choreographing or even like in my acting process, like I know how to like meet the truth of the energy of a piece of music. And so like it gave me more of a sense of authority when I was writing. That's like Rivers was my most listened to song on Spotify because it was just all that was playing while I was imagining it, and I couldn't literally listen to it while I was writing, but as I was like, actually yes, it was, because I would be like typing out a stage direction and I'd be like, what are the quality of words like that would demonstrate like what happens at this point in the music.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that it was just kind of there for you the whole time. Like there was it doesn't seem like there was ever like a really conscious decision of like there's going to be dance in this, but that's so striking to me because dance for me feels like it encompasses the physicalization of like memory and lost time. And so for that to just be like such a tendon of this in such a powerful way feels so true.
And I think it pays off in terms of like sometimes dance sequences can be frivolous or unnecessary.
Sure.
And I think because now hearing that was always there, I think you can see how deeply rooted it is, and it feels justified, and we earn the next moment from those dance sequences. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There is no story at this level without that. You know what I mean? So it just like it feels so deeply rooted and earned the whole time.
Yeah. I also just like, I'm like, bring back dance. Truly, because I just think, like, when I go to the theater or I go to the movie, like, I want to just like, I want to see what I can't fully do, right? And so when I watch a dance sequence in the context of a film or in anything, like, I'm like, oh, like they're living out what I couldn't fully like lift the lid on, but now I can.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's like spectacle and it doesn't necessarily enhance, but like I think I'm just more interested in like finding a way to let it enhance. Like even now, as I'm like, oh, but can I write this like with this story? Can I add dance into it? Like, does it work?
And it does.
And it does.
I'm actually for you. What is it like? I guess two things, like the development process for you creatively handing off that to a choreographer, and then two, what was that day of filming like compared to the others?
Oh my gosh, totally. I felt like getting to work with you was also kind of a touchstone of like, okay, I've done this before. this is something I can do, and trusted you from the jump so fully. Like I think you're incredible and so freaking talented and gifted and good at what you do, that there was already, weirdly, though none of us had worked together.
I was thinking about listening to you guys talk behind the camera. I was like,
weird.
it feels like we've known each other for
There was a lot of trust just from the jump.
But you know what it is like everyone was so mutually invested, and like in the pre-production process before we even knew it was possible to make the film. And so that trust was just already there. Even if it wasn't like, oh, I know they're good at this particular skill, it was like they're passionate about making this work. And so I just felt comfortable in the room. I'm like, we're all equally invested. And then the fact that like your language and your ability to do your job so well, like I was already rooting for you, and like appreciative of you. So like there was already that. But I agree. I'm just gonna like jump on the bandwagon of this. Like watching you work with choreography, I think because I'm always so nervous about time and losing time that I feverishly prep, and even if it's not the best choice that might emerge organically in the room with the people that I have, I'll go with it because I'm like, oh no, I have X amount of minutes to do this, and you made it so spacious. Like the first rehearsal we showed up to, you were like, these are the images that I have, and like
I mean, did you even dance that day?
We did dance that day.
I have like so many pictures from that. It was just us sitting.
We just got to dance together.
And I was so grateful. I was like, oh right, it can be that. I just never trust myself when I'm leading a room to do that, but you did. And then like the actual like building of the choreography happened in such a small frame of time because you made the space where it was just like we had all these ideas sort of like balloons like floating up in the room, and we could just like pull them down as we needed them.
Totally.
That's a gorgeous skill. I don't know how you like pitch that.
But you hold it because that to me, I'm remembering now part of the reason that we ran with like, let's really talk through and map this out as cleanly as we can. Limitation into solution. Juliana was stuck at an audition.
Yeah. We couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But I think that hit off one because the subject matter is delicate, and so like I think the care that was put in, like you said, in the pre-production process, I think shows because we weren't just making this movie. Like we wanted to make sure that it was taken care of and that we honor and respect that. You know what I mean? Without never wanting it to feel cheap, especially with the dance stuff. Like I said, like those moments can become showy, and it shouldn't have been that because it is deeply rooted in the story and in the heavy moments. So I think the fact that we had that day where we could like prep and put care into it, I think really set us up
100%.
for building choreography.
Yeah.
But thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah.
I know, like I forgot what the original question.
Yeah, just the difference of that day too.
On the set,
It also kind of felt, and this is where I think what you were speaking to about the work we did on our last day with all the therapy scenes feels actually really connected to this for me, because it really kind of felt like our last day. Like it was the last time we were all going to be in space together with like mostly the full team, which hadn't happened. We had just done that huge extra shoot at the, like it felt like a very big day because all of the major scenes had been done. We had wrapped on. And it was also, I think once we got to that space in the afternoon, there was definitely like the time cooker was on. And we were fine on time, but it was really the most stressed I think everybody was. And we, there was like, I think in the logistical kerfuffle, we had like left a shot off of the schedule. So then there was an additional dance that we weren't accounting for. I think it was the second Katrina dance. I think we hadn't budgeted for two in the schedule. But so there was like kind of an adrenaline already from the cortisol. And then yes, the cortisol. But then it was so, I think as we've been speaking to, like an unspoken, is this gonna show up the way that we hope it does? And so then when we started cooking, because the space itself, I think looks really different than how it reads for our shots. So it was kind of like, okay, like we'll make the ceiling red. We'll make the ceiling red, let's see how this goes. And then when it started to show up, it was magic. Yeah. And so I think it was also like, oh my God, if anything, these moments are gonna be great. Yeah. And it was so exciting, so exciting.
And because we started in sequence of those dance sequences, that was like us really got to be behind the monitors. You know what I mean? That really happened.
Huddled around.
Yeah.
So that was fun.
Yeah. And then I will actually never forget. A lot of the like filming was a blur, but I will never forget leaving the like the last time Juliana and I shot that sequence of that last dance, and Sophia moving with us, like we finished and I'm getting chills thinking about it, and G and I immediately had, like we knew it was it. Yeah. Like we were like, and then we turned and we saw Sophia like blushing, like it was
well, and she was dancing.
She was dancing.
She was dancing.
I was obsessed watching her.
Yeah.
Watching her work the choreography, thinking in her head choreographed
seeing it for the first time,
and then watching her dance and match the choreography. That was really cool.
Realizing that she choreographs her own movement, which like I felt for the first time when we did that scene, the fight scene in the apartment. Yes. Because we had that coffee table, we had to move the coffee table out of the way in order to like make that rotating, and feeling her across from me while I was like, oh, she really like, she has to choreograph her movement in such a way that doesn't interfere with ours, but that captures
and it changes like to shot. At least with that scene, it was totally different movement pattern for each 3 different shots of each take. Yeah,
I'm like, talk about surrender to the experience, like
totally.
Yeah.
Totally. And there was something about her entering that choreography. I think when we were talking about the differences, at least that I learned and we learned about theater and film, like that was such a useful lesson for me, because dance in theater tends to be pretty presentational, especially if we're working in a proscenium. And it was anything but that with the camera. And I think I had, at certain moments, subconsciously maybe made the camera and an audience the same thing. I was like, I had taken acting for the camera for 4 years. Like I knew how to put people in front of it and like the adjustments in that storytelling. But I think I had been thinking of the audience as just like the same type of audience, but it's a totally different lens on storytelling. Like in that, like
you put the audience and camera together as the same. You cast.
I'm like, oh, the camera is the audience, and the camera is like the bridge. And there's a more eloquent. I'm
but
sure.
It
can be a lot of different views. Yes, and then like how it all comes together is right. But it's so much more complex and nuanced. Whereas it takes a lot to change the role that a theatrical audience is playing in a show. And I think that's happening constantly in film. And that was such a useful moment of like, oh, this is like so specific to this medium. And we actually like, we can't do this in theater. Like it was so cool to have this like very theatrical moment of time, like to watch all of you moving together, and Josh and I just kind of like
I was being so annoyed there. I was like, oh my god. Because I knew that we were recording audio, so I was like, every time I was like out in the wall, we were being like, yes.
Before we added this, before Hannah did all of her work,
you could probably hear us in the night.
It's like you can hear
like,
like
oh my god.
bust